Welcome to this powerful journey of transforming your thoughts and your life. If you're ready to break free from what's holding you back and step into clarity, you're in the right place. Before we begin, make sure you become a member of my channel Mind Clarity, where we don't just talk about change, we create it. Today, you're not just listening to a speech, you're stepping into a new way of thinking that can redefine your entire reality. What if the biggest thing holding you back right now isn't your circumstances, but your focus? Every day, without realizing it, you train your mind to see what's missing, what's wrong, and what hasn't worked, and then wonder why life keeps giving you more of the same. But what if in this very moment you could shift that pattern and change the direction of your entire life? Because the truth is simple and powerful. What you focus on, you don't just notice. You create. You spend your day thinking about what's missing in your life. You talk about it with friends. You replay it in your mind during phone conversations. And you carry that same focus with you when you go to sleep. That creates a pattern, an energy loop, where your attention is constantly locked onto lack. And when your mind is trained that way, it keeps producing more of the same. What you focus on expands, so if your attention stays on what's absent, your life will keep reflecting that absence back to you again and again. This is the first shift you have to make. As long as your energy is tied to what you don't have, you're reinforcing that reality. You can't keep feeding the idea of missing and expect it to disappear. It will only grow stronger. That's the first barrier to stepping into a state of intention.
Now, here's something that may sound unusual. Right now, in this moment, you have the ability to redirect your attention inward. You can take your focus away from what currently exists and place it on what you actually want to create. One powerful way to do this is through an inner mantra. This idea isn't new. It's been practiced for thousands of years. Ancient teachers understood that repeating a sacred sound or phrase could shift your awareness and connect you to a deeper source of energy. This practice is about taking your inner attention and deliberately moving it away from your present circumstances and placing it on what you intend to experience. When you repeat a word or sound internally, you begin to align yourself with a higher frequency, something beyond your current limitations. It's like tuning into a signal that already contains what you're trying to bring into your life.
Through this repetition, you begin to cooperate with a greater force, the same source that you came from. Instead of struggling or forcing outcomes, you start to work in harmony with that energy. And when that happens, things begin to shift. Opportunities appear, circumstances change, and what once felt out of reach starts to move toward you. This isn't limited to one area of life. Whether it's money, health, relationships, or achieving something that once felt impossible, the principle is the same. When your inner focus changes, your outer world follows. History and spiritual teachings have pointed to this idea in many ways. Even the concept that "in the beginning was the Word" reflects the power of sound, intention, and focused thought.
It might seem strange at first, especially if you've been conditioned to believe only in what you can see. But repetition of an inner mantra creates a gap, a space where your usual patterns stop controlling you. In that space, you gain the ability to redirect your life. When you consistently practice this, you begin to draw in the energy needed to support your intentions. It's not about forcing results, it's about aligning with them. Many people have experienced real changes through this simple yet powerful method. There's no limit to what you can attract when your mind and energy are working in the right direction.
Now think about how this applies to everyday situations. Imagine you feel a slight illness coming on. If your mind immediately jumps to imagining it getting worse, spreading, intensifying, ruining your week, you are feeding that outcome with your attention. You're projecting it forward and giving it momentum. But if you interrupt that pattern and redirect your focus, you break the cycle. Your thoughts are not neutral.
They are active forces shaping your experience. When you dwell on what is, especially when it's negative, you strengthen it. But when you shift your awareness to what you want instead, you begin to create a different reality. The power lies in where you place your attention, and the choice is always yours. Imagine it's Monday morning, and you wake up with a slight sniffle. Instead of just noticing it and moving on, your mind jumps ahead. You start picturing yourself sick all week, imagining a fever by Friday, already planning days off. If this is how your mind has been trained, always projecting problems forward, always focusing on circumstances, then you're reinforcing those outcomes without even realizing it. There was a teacher who deeply influenced my understanding of human potential. He believed that people who truly grow and evolve live by one simple idea: you are meant to become everything you are capable of becoming. That means you can't stay limited by the same thinking that created your struggles in the first place. The mind that formed the problem cannot be the same mind that solves it. And the truth is, your mind has played a role in creating every situation you now call a problem. People who operate at a higher level of awareness understand this. If they don't like what's happening in their lives, they refuse to keep their attention on it, because they know that whatever you focus on expands. Look at anyone who feels stuck, whether it's in poverty, illness, addiction, or constant frustration. You'll often notice the same pattern. Their attention is locked onto what's wrong. They talk about it, think about it, relive it, and unknowingly keep it alive. When your mind keeps returning to what isn't working, you attract more of it. It's not punishment. It's simply how focus works. I remember someone once sharing her experience after a painful divorce. She told me she had dated several men afterward, and each one treated her poorly in almost the exact same way. She wanted answers, even suggested confronting those men, but the truth was simpler and harder to accept. There was one common factor in every situation: her attention, her beliefs, and her expectations were shaping what she experienced. You can't constantly dwell on what you don't like and expect something different to appear. If your energy is invested in what's missing or what's wrong, that's exactly what continues to grow in your life. There's another trap people fall into: living in what has always been. When your thoughts stay tied to your past keeps repeating itself. Think of your life like a boat moving forward through water. As it moves, it leaves a trail behind it. That trail is your past. Now, imagine standing at the back of the boat, staring only at that trail, trying to figure out why you're moving in a certain direction. But that trail isn't driving anything. It's just evidence of where you've been. The movement of the boat comes from the engine in the present moment. That's where the power is. The past has no ability to control where you're going unless you keep focusing on it. It's impossible for something that's already gone to direct what's happening now. Yet many people live as if their past is in charge of their future. When you keep telling yourself, "This is just how I am," or "things have always been this way," you lock yourself into repeating the same patterns. Even if you don't like those patterns, your attention keeps feeding them. The result is more of the same. And it doesn't stop there. Many people also give away their power by focusing too much on what others expect from them. There's always someone with an opinion about how you should live, what you should do, or who you should be. Often, it's the people closest to you. You might feel pressured by family, shaped by their beliefs, or held back by their expectations. But here's the truth. You can listen to others without letting their opinions define you. You don't have to adopt every belief that's handed to you. When you constantly focus on what others want for your life, you start attracting experiences that reflect their expectations, not your true desires. Your life begins to change when you take your attention back. When you stop feeding what's missing, what's wrong, what has always been, and what others think, you create space for something new. The direction of your life isn't controlled by your past or by outside voices. It's shaped by what you choose to focus on right now. You know how it feels when someone else's expectations start to control your mood. One conversation, one opinion, one comment from a parent, an in-law, a friend, or even a coworker can take you from feeling peaceful to completely frustrated. And then you keep replaying it. You talk about it. You think about it. You feel the resentment building inside you. But that resentment doesn't hurt them. It drains you.
There's a powerful truth you have to understand. Holding on to resentment never serves you. No matter how justified it feels, it weakens your energy. And when your attention is locked onto what others want for your life, especially when you don't agree with it, you end up attracting more of that same pressure and conflict. Even your resistance keeps it active. You stay connected to it because your focus is still there. So if you really want to step into a new state of intention, there are certain mental habits you have to let go of. You can't keep focusing on what's missing. You can't stay stuck on your current problems. You can't live in your past patterns. And you can't keep giving power to what other people expect from you. All of these keep you tied to the same outcomes. Instead, you have to do something that might feel unnatural at first. You have to train your mind to focus only on what you truly want to create. Every thought you have carries energy. Everything in this world is energy, and your thoughts either strengthen you or weaken you. The moment you hold on to a thought that brings you down, you can feel it. And the moment you shift into something that empowers you, you feel that too. It's immediate. Your inner world is constantly responding to what you choose to think about. You can even notice this when you're around other people. Spend time near someone who is negative, and you'll feel drained without them saying much. Step into a space filled with positivity, calm, or inspiration, and your energy shifts instantly. That's because everything around you carries a frequency, and you're always interacting with it. This is why what you expose yourself to matters. Words, music, conversations, environments, they all influence your state. Even something as simple as listening to uplifting words during a stressful moment can completely change how you feel. When you consciously choose what strengthens you, you begin to rise above what used to pull you down. There's a beautiful way to live from this higher energy, and it comes down to how you respond to the world. People won't always be reasonable. They won't always be fair, kind, or understanding. But your power is in choosing how you show up anyway. When others act irrationally, you can still choose to respond with patience. When your kindness is misunderstood, you can still choose to be kind. When success brings criticism or jealousy, you can keep moving forward without letting it stop you. When honesty isn't returned, you can still stand in your truth. There will be times when something you worked hard for falls apart. Build again anyway. There will be moments when you find happiness and others don't celebrate it. Stay happy anyway. The good you do may go unnoticed or be forgotten, but do it anyway. At the deepest level, your life isn't about proving anything to other people. It's not about meeting their expectations or living according to their opinions. It's about your connection to something greater, something within you that knows who you are meant to be. When you understand this, everything changes. You stop reacting to the noise around you and start creating from within. You stop giving your energy away and start directing it with purpose. And when you live like that, you step into a level of peace and power that no outside force can take from you. When you really start observing your thoughts throughout the day, you'll notice how automatic they are. Most of them are not even conscious choices. They are habits. You wake up and your mind immediately goes to what's wrong, what needs fixing, what didn't work yesterday, what might go wrong today. That pattern feels normal because you've practiced it for so long. But the moment you become aware of it, you also realize something powerful. You can interrupt it.
The shift doesn't come from forcing yourself to think positive all the time. It comes from becoming intentional. There's a difference. Forced positivity ignores reality, but intention reshapes your relationship with it. You're no longer reacting to life, you're deciding what meaning and energy you bring into it. That's where your real control exists.
Think about how much of your energy is spent reacting. Someone says something you don't like, and your mind keeps replaying it. A small problem shows up, and you mentally turn it into a bigger one. You anticipate future issues before they even exist. All of that is energy being invested into outcomes you don't actually want. And because attention feeds experience, those patterns begin to show up more frequently, almost like confirmation that your fears were right. But what if, instead of reacting, you paused, even for a few seconds? That pause is where your power lives. In that space, you can choose a different direction. You can ask yourself, what do I actually want to feel right now? What do I want to create from this moment? That simple shift starts to retrain your mind. Over time, you begin to notice that your external world mirrors your internal state. Not instantly, and not always in obvious ways, but consistently. When your thoughts are scattered, negative, and reactive, your experiences tend to reflect confusion and struggle. When your thoughts become steady, intentional, and focused on what you want, your life begins to organize itself differently. This doesn't mean challenges disappear. It means you stop feeding them with unnecessary energy. You start responding instead of reacting. You see situations more clearly, without the emotional noise that used to cloud your judgment. And because of that clarity, you make better choices, attract better outcomes, and handle difficulties with more strength. There's also something deeper happening when you practice this consistently. You begin to detach from the need to control everything outside of you. You realize that trying to control people, situations, or timing only creates more tension. Instead, you focus on your inner state, knowing that it influences everything else. That shift brings a kind of calm confidence. You're no longer chasing results, you're aligning with them. Another important part of this is how you talk to yourself. Your inner dialogue is one of the strongest forces shaping your experience. If your inner voice is constantly critical, doubtful, or fearful, it becomes the lens through which you see everything. But if you start guiding that voice, gently, consistently, you change the way you experience life. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing thoughts that support where you want to go instead of reinforcing where you feel stuck. Even small changes in your inner dialogue can create noticeable shifts in how you feel and act. And then there's consistency. One intentional thought won't change everything, just like one negative thought won't ruin everything. It's the pattern that matters. What you think about most often becomes your baseline. That's why daily awareness is so important. Not perfection, just awareness and redirection, again and again. As you keep practicing this, you'll start to feel less pulled by external circumstances. Things that used to trigger you won't have the same effect. Opinions from others won't carry as much weight. Past experiences won't define you in the same way. You'll feel more grounded, more centered, and more in control of your direction. And eventually it becomes natural. You won't have to force yourself to shift your focus. It will happen automatically. Your mind will start looking for possibilities instead of problems, solutions instead of limitations. That's when you know the change is real. Not because everything outside is perfect, but because your inner world has become strong enough that it no longer depends on external conditions to feel complete. As you go deeper into this way of living, you start to realize that most of what used to feel overwhelming was never really about the situation itself. It was about how long you stayed mentally attached to it.
A single moment can turn into hours or even days of stress simply because your mind keeps returning to it. And every time you revisit it, you react again as if it's happening all over. That's how energy gets drained without anything actually changing in your outer world.
When you begin to break that cycle, you notice something subtle but powerful. You don't need to solve everything immediately. You don't need to control every outcome. You just need to manage where your attention rests. Because attention is what fuels experience. Whatever you give your focus to consistently starts to shape your emotional state, your decisions, and eventually your results. This is why letting go becomes such an important skill. Not giving up, but releasing your grip on things that don't serve you. Letting go of the need to replay conversations. Letting go of the urge to predict negative outcomes. Letting go of the habit of measuring your life against someone else's path. Every time you let go, you create space. And in that space, something new can enter. Clarity, creativity, solutions, even opportunities you couldn't see before. You'll also start to notice how much quieter your mind becomes when you're not constantly feeding it unnecessary noise. That quiet isn't empty. It's actually where your strongest ideas come from. It's where intuition starts to show up. Instead of forcing answers, you begin to receive them. Instead of chasing direction, you begin to feel guided toward it. There's also a shift in how you experience time. When your mind is stuck in regret about the past or anxiety about the future, the present moment feels rushed or heavy. But when you bring your attention fully into now, things slow down in a good way. You become more aware, more present, and more connected to what's actually happening instead of what you fear might happen. And from that place, your actions become more effective. Not because you're doing more, but because you're doing things with clarity and intention. You're no longer acting out of panic or pressure. You're acting from alignment. That's where real progress comes from. Another layer of this is trust. At first, it can feel uncomfortable to stop overthinking and trying to control everything. There's a part of you that believes constant worry equals preparation or safety. But over time, you start to see that most of that worry never leads to anything useful. It just keeps you stuck in a loop. As you practice shifting your focus and managing your thoughts, you begin to build trust in yourself. You trust that you'll handle situations as they come. You trust that clarity will show up when you need it. You trust that not everything has to be figured out in advance. And that trust replaces a lot of the fear that used to drive your thinking. You also become more selective with your energy. You start to notice which conversations drain you and which ones lift you. Which environments support your growth and which ones pull you back into old patterns. And instead of feeling obligated to stay in draining situations, you begin to choose differently, not out of avoidance, but out of awareness. At a certain point, this stops being something you practice and becomes who you are. You naturally return to your center faster. You recover from setbacks quicker. You don't get as lost in negativity because you recognize it early and shift out of it. That doesn't mean you never have difficult thoughts or emotions. It just means they don't control you the way they used to. And maybe the most important part is this. You stop waiting for life to change before you feel better. You realize that the feeling comes first, the clarity comes first, the alignment comes first, and then your external world begins to reflect that shift in ways that feel almost effortless compared to how hard things used to feel. It's a gradual process, but every small moment of awareness matters. Every time you choose not to go back into an old thought pattern, you weaken it. Every time you redirect your attention towards something more intentional, you strengthen a new way of thinking. And over time, those small shifts add up to a completely different experience of life, one where you're not just reacting to what happens, but actively shaping the direction you move in. Your life is not shaped by what has happened, what is missing, or what others expect of you.
It is shaped by where you choose to place your attention right now. The moment you stop feeding the past, the problems, and the pressure, you reclaim your power to create something new. Every thought you hold becomes a direction, every focus becomes a force, and every intention becomes a possibility waiting to unfold. So choose wisely, because when you align your mind with what you truly want, you don't just change your thinking, you transform your entire reality.